Hi folks, this is Dave, owner and president of Sargent's Nursery here in Red Wing, and I just wanted to talk to you briefly today about Japanese beetles. Everybody's talking about Japanese beetles right now. We have so many people with problems with Japanese beetles. What can I do about it? There's multiple things you can do about that. I wanted to show you some of those things real quickly. So come on in here and take a look at some of the things that we can do to help you. First of all, it's understanding that Japanese beetle and the life cycle. This little guy right here is what you're looking for in the gardens, and they're probably feeding on your roses, maybe on your hibiscus, your raspberries, your grapes, your plum trees. They'll also find them on birch trees, linden trees, elm trees, so they have a lot of foods that they like, but there's also a lot of things that they don't like. The adult beetle is breeding right now, so they're feeding on your plants and breeding, and the females are laying their eggs in the soil, and every female can deposit up to 30, 40, 50 eggs in a clutch. So every time they breed and they lay eggs in your soil, that ends up with more beetles next year. So here are some of the things you can do to try to help control them. If you want to prevent the grub, this is what the Japanese beetle starts like. It is a grub that eats on the turf, the roots of your lawn and your turf. So it's going to stay underneath the ground, chewing on the grass roots, and then over the winter it goes as deep as it can to get below the frost layer, and then in the spring it comes back up and chews on the roots of your grass again. So this product called Grub Beater is something you put down generally in the spring or early summer. It lasts all season, and it will kill the grubs that are in the soil so they can't turn into the adult beetle. This is just one piece of the equation. If you would prefer to spray your plants with something to have immediate gratification, there are several different ways. We have an organic alternative here called Captain Jack's Dead Bug Brew. That is a bacterial insecticide, completely organic, safe to spray on all of your edible crops and allow you to still eat your edible foods, and does a good job. Next product we have here is called 8 Insect Control, and that, as you can see, works for gardens or home. And that is a chemical, although that one leaves a slight residue on your plants, so you want to wash your fruit if you spray it on any type of edible crop. The last one, and this is pretty self-explanatory, it says Japanese Beetle Killer. That is exactly what it's marketed for. It will also kill other insects as well. So that is the next most important thing to talk about. Anytime we use any type of pesticide, we can't necessarily just kill Japanese beetles. It will kill other things, pollinators included. So if you're concerned about killing the bees, moths, anything that might pollinate your plants, these may not be the total answer for you. The last option that we have here is the Japanese beetle trap. And I'll talk a lot about this trap here in just a second, but I also wanted to reiterate that pesticides, there's a place for pesticides in the garden and the landscape for use, but anytime that we're concerned about other types of pollinators and things would be an option for us to maybe use something else. That's where this trap comes in. Now, there's a lot of debate about and a lot of controversy about these traps and whether they are good to use in the garden. So I'm going to explain that a little bit. These traps are a lure or an attractant, so they are going to attract the beetles to the trap. They're going to capture them, and they attract both the males and the females. So male and female bugs will come to this. You can take them both out of the life cycle by using this trap. The beauty of this trap is that you don't have to use pesticides at all. All of the males and the females that are within that area are going to find their way to this trap. They fall into the reservoir there and go into here where they are trapped and will be in the bottom of that plastic bottle there. So it does have drain holes so the water will pass through it, so that works really well as well. But the trap works so well because you're not having to spray pesticides. You are actually attracting them to this. So I'm going to show you real quickly what we do here at Sargent's. Out in our shrub lot here, we have all kinds of plants that the Japanese beetles love, and we don't want them feeding on the plants any more than you want them feeding on your plants at home. So, but we don't want to use pesticides. We don't want you to have to handle a plant that has had pesticide use, and we feel real strongly about our environment and protecting our pollinators and things. So we choose to use the traps only, and when we do that, we set them up. I walk over here. We set them up in strategic locations within our sales lot here. We're going to show you some of the plants that they're sitting around. As you can see, we have this beautiful winged euonymus or winged burning bush. We have a smoke bush. We have a sumac. We have arborvitaes. And as you can see by looking at these, there's absolutely no damage to these whatsoever. So even though we are attracting bug after bug after bug to this particular spot here, they don't like any of these plants. So there's just as many plants that they don't like as the ones that they do like. So that is your goal with one of these traps, is to place this out in the hot sunny area, somewhere out in your yard, maybe on a shepherd's hook or on a post, but put it in a spot where they are going to draw those beetles away from your target plant. So if you have a raspberry plant and they're devouring it, or a grapevine and they're devouring it, the goal with this trap is to place it 40 to 50 feet away from those target plants, so those beetles find their way to this trap and don't go to your raspberry or your grapes. So I'm going to show you real briefly here. It's really simple. There's bugs that have been collecting in here all day, and so I'm going to show you how many we've caught in one day in this step. Dump it into there. Give it a little shake, and there you go. Look at that. Literally hundreds of them in there, and that's just one day's catch. We put 4 traps out in our sales lot in various areas because we have such a big area. You can put as many as you want, but the fact is that you are luring and attracting more of them to the area. And again, some people say that's a bad thing, but if you're attracting them all to one concentrated area that they're not feeding on things, then you're taking them completely out of the life cycle and making sure they can't lay eggs in your soil for next year. So it's a great solution if you use it the right way. Now I want to show you one last thing. As we come over this way, I'm going to show you our raspberries, our grapes, the target plants that they love. And they're not that far away. We're probably 40, 50 feet away. If you look at my raspberry plants here, look at those nice clean leaves. We'll look up here a little bit more. Clean leaves. Now we're finding there's a little bit of damage right here by the Japanese beetles, but when you look at the whole entire grouping here, there's so little damage. They're literally, you barely even know that they're damaged. And we have, as you can tell by the trap, we have thousands of beetles out here. So we are effectively drawing them away from these plants over to a spot over here where they are not feeding. And so we have done our job by collecting those and getting them out of the life cycle without spraying a single pesticide. And our grapevines here as well. If you look at our grapes, they look healthy and beautiful. And you'll see a few leaves. Like there's one leaf, that's Japanese beetle damage for you right there. But again, when you back out and you look at the whole grouping, they're very healthy. There's even grapes growing on some of them. And the damage that we have to those is so minimal that the plants will grow through that just fine. But if I didn't have those traps set, they would be just absolutely devoured by all those hundreds and hundreds of bugs that I'm catching. So the trap, I really believe strongly in it if you use it the right way. So in closing, I just wanted to make sure that you all understood that we all care about doing the right thing for the environment, and the trap, the sprays, the things that we use for all those different types of controls can all be effective if used in the right way. I hope I've helped you understand the Japanese beetle cycle a little bit more, and good luck fighting those beetles.